Mitch McConnell has a Biden moment. My review of the box office hit Oppenheimer and Hunter's sweetheart deal is imploding like a submarine. All of that and more on today's episode of Speechless, The Daily Show. Hey, everybody, and welcome back to Speechless, The Daily Show. I'm your host, Phares, the 22-year-old college student out of Central Illinois, covering all this random news that we have going on in our world. Thank you so much for tuning in. And if you've never tuned in before, please don't forget to like this video. It's right down there. I dare you. Come on, like the video. It's right there. Subscribe to the channel. There's probably something coming up in this corner right here, if not already up there somewhere. Subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much. And don't forget to comment. Let me know what you're thinking about these things that I'm talking about. Am I wrong? Again, I'm just a 22-year-old college student. I could be wrong about this stuff, and I want to know what you have to say. Leave me a comment. I'll try my best to respond to as many as I can. Thank you so much for tuning in, but let's get right to it. Right after you like, subscribe, and share. Thank you guys so much. Okay, so Mitch McConnell today freezes up. Out of Fox News, Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell, the Republican from Kentucky, appeared to freeze up during a news conference with other Republican leaders following their weekly party luncheon Wednesday afternoon, just earlier today, in which he said, "Good afternoon, everyone. We're on a path to finishing up the National Defense Authorization Act this week. There's been good bipartisan cooperation and a string of..." And then this happened, everybody. Let's take a look right here.
Bipartisan cooperation and a string of
What's going on, Mitch? Just poop your pants? Medical emergency? Anything? What's going on? It's a Biden moment. What is he looking at? What's going on?
Okay, Mitch. Anything else you want to say? Or should we just go back to your press? Do you want to say anything else to the press?
No words.
Let's go back to
Go ahead, John.
What's going on? What's going on? Okay, that was really flippin' weird. And so if you could not hear, that was Senator John Barrasso out of Wyoming that was saying, you okay, Mitch? Is there anything else you want to say, or should we go back to your office? He then stepped aside, and Senator John Thune, you could see at the very end from South Dakota, and others addressed the press on this was the 1-year anniversary of the Democrat-led Inflation Reduction Act. This is the anniversary of that. The GOP leader reappeared. So Mitch McConnell reappeared about 10 minutes later to finish the press conference. A McConnell aide told Fox News that the senator, quote, felt lightheaded and stepped away for a moment. And then he came back to handle a Q&A, which everyone observed as sharp. McConnell said during that Q&A, he said, "I'm fine," he told reporters, and proceeded to answer questions. This is interesting, though, because some on Twitter speculated that they thought Mitch might have had a stroke or a seizure. I'll be honest, I think that's kind of unlikely unless it was a very small stroke, as he was able to get back within 10 minutes, didn't have any kind of rush to medical, to any medical personnel or anything like that. And he was apparently able to get back up, answer some questions, and did state that he was fine after about 10 minutes. However, there are a few things to note about this story. A few important notes. The first is that earlier this year, McConnell, who's 81, suffered a concussion and fractured a rib from a fall in a Washington hotel and spent time in recovery in an inpatient rehabilitation facility before returning to the Senate. So he is obviously prone to injury, and maybe this is some kind of some issue related to that previous injury, as he previously had a concussion. Obviously, that can cause some issues on mental focus. But there's also other things to note significantly here. And the first is age and subsequent question of mental fitness of our representatives that are of significant age. And that must be taken into account. Let's take a look at some recent videos of our commander-in-chief, another person who we know tends to have these kinds of gaffes. Here's the first one. Recently, this is just within the last week, Biden got lost on a stage after giving a speech on Bidenomics. So here's that. What was that? What was that? Where was he going? He just didn't know where he was. And this is not uncommon for Biden. There's a lot of times where he just gets lost, doesn't know where he is, forgets what state he's in, all that kind of stuff. It's not uncommon. This is one of my favorite ones, and it recently just came back up in my feed, but it's from 2022, and I think it's important to play because it has to do with being questioned regarding mental fitness. Biden was questioned in a 60 Minutes interview back in 2022. I believe it was in September of 2022 about his mental fitness. And so let's take a look at this video.
How would you say your mental focus is?
Oh, it's focused. I haven't, look, I have trouble even saying to myself, my own head, the number of years. I no more think of myself as being as old as I am than fly. I mean, it's just not.
That's his mental fitness. I no more think of myself old enough as a fly. That's our commander-in-chief, everybody. What kind of image does that put out there? But the thing is while that is our commander-in-chief, that is our president, it is very important that we have mental focus there. We also have our Senate minority leader, who obviously isn't all there either. And this is really sad. This is honestly, this is sad. As much as we'll make jokes about Biden falling up the stairs or having these gaffes and everything, and it can be kind of funny, it's really sad. It's sad because there's families of these people and even people that vote for this to put people like this. We have John Fetterman, who just got elected to the Senate from Pennsylvania, who suffered a massive stroke and has obviously not completely healed. Did you ever watch that debate of John Fetterman? So mental fitness is obviously really important, but a lot of it comes with age. Yes, John Fetterman is younger, different conversation to have when it comes to mental fitness. But as it is obvious and it is known that for the majority of people, as you age, your mental fitness, your mental focus degenerates and deteriorates. And that's exactly what it is. And there's so many people that are either in power or in some way influence power that are of an incredibly high age group. And it simply needs to be looked at. Here's Nancy Pelosi just within the last few weeks calling Biden a kid. And we just saw those other videos saying Biden is a kid to her and others that hold power. Here is that interview
of him. And again, we're very fortunate that he is in that position. But again, age is relative. I was in LA for some Democratic stuff recently, and I met with Norman Lear, who's 100, going on 101. He was telling me some new shows he was involved in. I was meeting with Frank Gehry, a 90-something architect, showing me new buildings he's building throughout the world. And they were like, 80, he's a kid. But again, it's relative. He's younger than I am, so he's a kid to me as well, the president is.
He's a kid to her. He's just a kid to her. And the weirdest thing about this is, so she's not totally wrong in saying that age is relative. Age is relative. I mean, when I was 5, to me, a 30-year-old, 20-year-old, 20 to 30-year-old was so old. Now I'm 20 to 30 and I'm like, oh my God, not nearly as old as I thought I was. When you're 5, you think that a 20 to 30-year-old has everything together. I can tell you a lot of them don't. One included. I don't have everything together. So yes, age is relative, but relative would also be that mental fitness, mental focus. So if you have somebody who's 101 and they are very slow in their speech and are very hard of hearing, might forget a lot. Somebody who's 80 who forgets less will seem relatively better. But when you have politicians that are 35, 40, 45, 50, and they can actually form a coherent sentence, it makes your 80-year-old president that forgets where he is look awful. And so there's a few things so the fact of the matter here is that age is important. Age is important when it comes to selecting leaders, people that are at the top. Okay, maybe Norman Lear, who Nancy Pelosi is talking about, isn't necessarily the leader of this nation or the leader of one of our chambers of Congress. But age does matter. And older age is linked to declining mental stamina, period. We all know it. When leaders such as Mitch McConnell or Biden have these gaffes and brain farts, it makes our country look weak. It does, period. Heck, even just the imagery of these octogenarians, 80-plus-year-olds, whose appearances don't give off a particularly energetic or strong sentiment, make way for criticism of the fitness of the leader and subsequently the nation. How strong is our nation if the person in charge doesn't even know where he is? If the person in charge stops talking and seems to have like a mini stroke or something when he's supposed to be giving an update on what the party's doing? So how do we solve this issue of old people that are seemingly unfit for office holding positions of power? Well, there's two big ones that I hear from a lot of people. I'm going to talk about them and give their pros and cons and everything like that. So some say putting an age restriction on offices is a good idea. And this kind of makes sense in theory, because if you think about it, we have to get into an office, you have a lower age restriction, not an upper, but you have a lower. So like there's 35, you have to be 35 to be president. According to our Constitution, you have to be 30 for the Senate, and you have to be 25 for the House. So there's the lower age restrictions on getting into those positions of leadership. However, there's no higher ones. And the reason for that is because originally when our founding documents were created, the average life expectancy was maybe like 60 to 70 at best. Now it's a decade over that, a decade or two over that. And so it was like, okay, well, you're going to die at 60 or something. So like you got to get through half your life before you can even make it to one of those high offices. So it made more sense. But now when we have people living 80, 90, 100 years old, yeah, maybe we should look at what happens at that age and how old. But the thing about that is it would have to be a constitutional amendment. It would have to be a constitutional amendment. Just like this next one I'm about to point out. Another example I'd say is a lot of people say we should have term limits. A lot of people say we should have term limits on, and that would make it so, okay, well, your 80-year-old can't necessarily be a career politician. You can't get into office at 35 or 25, 30, 40, and then live as a congressman, senator, president for a long time. And so obviously president already has its term limits, 2 term limits. It makes sense, whatever. But like Joe Biden's been in office for more than half of his life since he was like 30 something. And so he's been able to just be a career politician through and through. And so people say there should be term limits on things like that. But again, that would also have to be a constitutional amendment. Why would it all have to be a constitutional amendment, both the age restriction and the term limits? Because in our Constitution, in Article 1 and 2, Article 1 is about Congress. Article 1 is about Congress. Article 2 is about the executive branch. Article 3 is about the judicial system. So we can have a conversation about the judicial system and mental acuity there. But it's not necessarily our the biggest thing right now. We talk about term limits for executive branch and Congress. Yeah, but it'd have to be a constitutional amendment because there are outlines. Again, like I said, they have outlines of age and how long you have to have lived in the United States for Senate and for Congress and president. President, you have to be a naturalized citizen. For Senate and House, it's a certain amount of years. I don't remember. But those are outlined in our Constitution. And so to change that, you would have to put a constitutional amendment. Just like the 22nd Amendment, the one that put term limits into office for the into place for the president, two terms for the president. That's the 22nd Amendment in the Constitution, because Article 1 of the Constitution outlines how long a president, or it doesn't outline exactly how long a president should be in office for or can be in office for. And so again, if you wanted to put an age restriction or term limits, it would have to be a constitutional amendment. But I also have kind of a criticism as well. And it's probably not for the people like you that are watching, because the people that usually watch this show are pretty in tune with what's going on in politics nowadays. But shouldn't we also like vote for what we want? Well, can't we place our own term limits into the system by just voting for people and voting out people? The problem that we have right now really is that incumbents, 90% of incumbents for Congress get reelected. Like once you have an incumbency, you are basically guaranteed that seat until you don't want it anymore. It's a big deal if an incumbent gets voted out. That's just the statistics. I believe it's like 88 to 90%, somewhere around there, get reelected. And so when we have that advantage, maybe we need to encourage people to be more involved in their system so then we don't have people like Mitch McConnell getting reelected for decades and decades. There are people like Joe Biden, people like Nancy Pelosi. And that's the thing, is that this is not partisan. Look, if you want people in office that are mentally fit for office, vote for people that are mentally fit for office. So sure, we could work on an age limit for how old you could be to be president or in the Senate or in the House. We could work on that kind of an amendment. We could work on term limits. We could work on those amendments. But the biggest thing is if you want to see change in 2024, you could see change in 2024 if we mobilize people to vote for mentally fit people. You could see the entire House not have a single career politician. You could see the entire Senate not have a single career politician. And we could vote out the current president, who a lot of us agree is mentally unfit for office. We could see that change in 2024. We could set our own term limits. We could set our own age limits. All we got to do is vote for it. And that's what I got to say about that. Everybody, if you're just tuning in, you're watching Speechless. I'm your host, Phares. Thank you so much for tuning in. Going to take a wildly different approach to this next segment. It is a review of a movie I have been wanting to see for a very long time. Got very good reviews. Has become a summer box office hit in less than a week that it has already been out, simply because it is just an amazing movie. It's Oppenheimer, the story of J. Robert Oppenheimer, that he built the atomic bomb, or he was the lead physicist on the Manhattan Project that ended up building the atomic bomb. And it's his biopic, which is absolutely amazing, played by Cillian Murphy. Also has an all-star cast of Matt Damon, Robert Downey Jr., and many more. Amazing cast. And so here's the few things I got to say about it. And I'm going to try my best to stay away from spoilers. If you haven't seen it, I highly recommend it. First thing is, I went to see it last night at 10 p.m. It is a 3-hour movie. I was in the theater until like 1 a.m. I went to see it in IMAX. Amazing. Despite it being a 3-hour movie that I saw after a long work day in the theater, 10 a.m., stayed until 1 a.m., I was still captivated the entire time. It is an amazing movie. And so there's a few things I want to talk about this. So the first is that it reminded me significantly of Jurassic Park. And a lot of people might be like, what do you mean? This movie, like, that's a biographical drama about this guy. And it reminded you of Jurassic Park, the kind of semi-cheesy but cult classics from the 90s about dinosaurs. Yes, it reminded me of that, because Jeff Goldblum in that movie, the first Jurassic Park, said, but your scientists were so preoccupied with whether or not they could that they didn't stop to think if they should. Your scientists were so preoccupied on whether or not they thought they could that they never stopped to think if they should. And that's exactly what Oppenheimer's about. Oppenheimer, who was a man who sought to make a name for himself in physics, realized the theories that about splitting the atom and fission and fusion and how to create the atomic bomb. He was so enamored with doing it. And because he was so enveloped, it talks a lot about how he's in theory. He works in theory. And he finally got to see something that he'd been theorizing for so long come into practice that he never thought if he should. And then after the atomic bomb was made and detonated, he started thinking about the consequences of his creation. And then he started speaking out against it. And again, I'm trying to stay away from spoilers here, but he started speaking out against it, and then the government went after him for a few reasons. One, he had a lot of ties to the Communist Party. A former girlfriend of his, he himself had gone to Communist Party events and stuff like that. And here's the thing that I want to say that I think is really interesting about the movie, and this was not necessarily a central theme, but very fascinating, is the contrast in communism from then versus what we see as communism today. So I'm on a college campus. I see people that self-identify as communists, and they're also like Antifa members and all that kind of crap. Far radical leftist progressives, whatever. And they claim they're communists. And a lot of the communists today are snow cone colored hair weirdos that are that paraphrase and lie about what communists what Marx actually said in his books. Because they try to push this radical LGBTQ theory when in reality, Marx himself wasn't really pro-homosexuality, anything like that. And so communism, Marxism is much different today than it was back then. And hearing what communists have to say from back in the 40s, 50s, 60s is much different too, as a lot of it kind of resembles some of the populist ideology even I have. And so don't go out there saying like I'm a communist. I'm not really pro-union, and for the most part, I'm not pro-unionization and that kind of stuff. I believe in that there's different ways to solve, but a lot of the problems that they recognize were very similar. The solutions are different, but the problems that they realize are very similar to like what I believe in. They're anti-elitist. They're pro the working man, pro blue collar. Like, so they are. So it was very interesting to see that contrast is the point I'm trying to make. But then I also wanted to make the contrast, again, not explicitly said, but when in terms of how Oppenheimer reacted after he saw his creation come to fruition, it reminded me a lot of what's going on with AI right now, artificial intelligence. Is we have so many scientists, so many researchers, so many incredibly intelligent people that are just trying to push the limits, see how far we can take this thing. But they're never asking about what the ramifications of what we're doing could actually be. And that's exactly what the thought process that Oppenheimer had to go through is after he saw what the bomb had created, the power he'd created, he started questioning, what did I do? And it leads me into this entire idea of, I think actually he realized a progressive stance he once took, because again, he used to be a what he described as a New Deal Democrat, identified with some communists. It's this idea of progress, right? And look, some could call me a progressive. I believe in having some technological advancement, trying to make our lives easier. I don't necessarily disagree with some of that, but there's an idea in progressivism, and it's called progressivism for a reason, that you have progress for the sake of progress at all costs. And Oppenheimer showed, this movie is honestly really conservative for a few reasons. First, it showed that what happens when you focus so much on progress that you don't stop to ask yourself, what am I doing? What could the ramifications of my progress be? Look, while it ended the war and made America a World War champ, and yes, was also a reaction to the Pearl Harbor bombings, 150 to 200,000 people died at the hands of those nukes. Those were people, a lot of civilians. Wasn't all military, civilians, innocent people died at the hands of those nukes. Progress for the sake of progress breeds significant destruction. Now, progress with a purpose can actually do good. There's also the arguments, obviously, that, well, if America hadn't created the atom bomb, well, then Russia would have, or Germany was, by the time we created it and set it off and everything, Germany, I believe, was already done. But there's the argument that, well, if we didn't do it, somebody else will. Okay, have that argument. But in this movie, the idea that's pushed is progress for the sake of progress needs to be questioned. And that's a conservative ideology, absolutely. Progress for the sake of progress needs to be questioned. The other thing that's very important, that's conservative about this movie, is the anti-government sentiment. Look, again, he was a communist. Oppenheimer was a communist, or related with communists. He never officially was a part of the Communist Party, I don't believe, but he related with them. But I'm still a free speech guy, right? I believe everybody should have a opportunity to say what they think. And Oppenheimer had to go through a massive, and without giving away too much, had to go through a massive rigmarole orchestrated by a member of the United States government because he wanted to get more power. And in doing so, he had to tear down Oppenheimer, ruin his credibility, and try to make it so that he could no longer speak in an official, credible capacity, despite the fact that Oppenheimer had created the atomic bomb for the United States government and even led research on the hydrogen bomb. This is an anti-government movie, too, people, about how government officials, politicians, will literally abandon the entire ideas of the American Constitution, freedom of speech, to advance their own power. Power and progress for the sake of progressing power. And it's bad. But besides all the messages that I think are amazing and actually conservative, despite the communist overtones, the cinematography was absolutely amazing. I saw it in IMAX, amazing experience. The audio was immersive and, again, excellent. The only gripe I've heard from anybody about this movie, besides like the length, is that it's not in chronological order. And so it skips all over the place from, it starts off after the bomb had already been detonated, goes back to when Oppenheimer was in school, comes back to after the bomb, then goes to the development of the bomb. It's not in chronological order. So if you're going to go see this movie, especially in the theater, you got to pay attention or watch it in segments at home to where you can kind of like digest each and every part of it. That would be my recommendation. So it skips all over the place, thus making it hard to follow if you're not paying attention. That said, I think this is one of the best movies I have ever seen. 9.5 out of 10. The only ding being for the lack of chronological order does make it hard for some to follow. 9.5 out of 10. Top 10 to 15 movies I've ever seen in my entire life. Christopher Nolan did an amazing job. I've got other people telling me I got to go see Barbie now. Not a movie I really want to see, but I'll go see it because apparently I got to react to some of the woke crap in it. But again, Oppenheimer, amazing movie. Highly recommend for everybody to go see. Okay, everybody, thanks for, if you're just tuning in, I'm Kev Phares, just reviewed Oppenheimer. After this is done premiering, go watch this video in its entirety. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. I got more stories coming up. Like, subscribe, share, and leave me in the comments. What do you think? Have you seen Oppenheimer? Are you going to go see it? And let me know what you think about Hunter Biden's sweetheart deal. The next story here, Hunter Biden out of the New York Post, his sweetheart deal on gun and tax charges is getting torpedoed by a judge in a sensational courtroom dust-up. So Hunter Biden might not be in the clear. You might have remembered about a month ago, I covered Hunter Biden's sweetheart deal that he had, in which he was getting charged with things that should get him jail time, but he was just going to get parole. But out of the New York Post, first son Hunter Biden pled not guilty to federal tax and gun charges today. A dramatic about face after his wrist slap. Probation-only plea deal fell apart this Wednesday over his demand for blanket immunity from accountability for all criminal conduct, including alleged illegal foreign lobbying. So obviously we've heard a lot in the news recently about how there could be Biden corruption, and it's pretty much verified that Biden, Hunter, and Joe have been involved in money coming in and out of different countries. And so he apparently asked for immunity from all criminal activity in this plea deal, which honestly, Hunter, this just shows how entitled this guy is. How entitled this guy is, because you're already getting what is known as a sweetheart deal. And now you're asking for more. You give a mouse a cookie, everybody. But the stunning turn of events came more than 90 minutes into the hearing at the federal courthouse in Wilmington, Delaware, where Hunter was expected to plead guilty to 2 misdemeanor counts of willful failure to pay taxes and enter a diversion program on a felony federal weapons charge. Prosecutors admitted under questioning from the U.S. District Judge Mary Ellen Norica that President Biden's 53-year-old son could be charged with offenses, including failing to register as a foreign agent for lucrative dealings in countries such as China and Ukraine that allegedly involved his father. And a quote from his defense attorney, Chris Clark, said, "As far as I'm concerned, the plea argument is null and void." Both sides then tried to move forward with a revised plea deal that specified Hunter would face no additional charges linked to tax crimes from 2014 to 2019 or any accounts involving his drug use and associated gun ownership crimes. However, Norica, the judge, indicated she needed more information about the new deal, forcing the first son to enter a pro forma plea of not guilty before the hearing was adjourned. Seems like it's imploding, everybody, like a submarine. Oh my gosh, is that too soon? I'm sorry. But his plea deal is pretty much no more. The sweetheart deal, it's going to back to the drawing board for Hunter. And it seems like he could actually maybe get some jail time. Well deserved. And people are going to be looking a lot more into this foreign money thing and everything going on. It's still a story to follow. That's all I really got on it so far. But I just find it fascinating that he asks for more despite already getting a sweetheart deal. And it led to now they're back to the drawing board. Got to see exactly what's going on with Hunter. We'll follow this story more, obviously, on Speechless and at Cities 92.9, the radio station I work for. Everybody, if you're just tuning in, I'm your host, Kev Phares. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm the host of Speechless, which is what you're watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. Like and subscribe to this video, like and subscribe to the channel, and leave me a comment. Let me know what you're thinking in the comments about Hunter Biden's plea deal, the movie Oppenheimer, or even the old people we got in office that seem unfit for their positions. But I'm moving on a little bit. Again, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Thank you so much for tuning in to Speechless, the Daily Show. But is Jason Aldean's new song racist or patriotic? Is Jason Aldean's new song racist or patriotic? Well, this has obviously been a story that I've been covering. Jason Aldean's new song. It's Try That in a Small Town. I'm going to let you guys in on just the chorus so we can just get a quick refresher of this song.
We'll try that in a small town. See how far you make it down the road. Around here we take care of our own. You cross that line, it won't take long for you to find out. I recommend you don't. Try that in a small town.
I also recommend you don't try that in a small town, but obviously a lot of people are taking issue with this song. It has made headlines all across the nation in the fact that it's been claimed that it's racist. Yes, the left is trying to frame this as racist. I question, is it racist or is it patriotic? Let me know what you think in the comments, but let's go through a little bit of the continued controversy from this song. First is out of TMZ, Jason Aldean has, and a lot of lefties were going crazy about this, so I looked into it a little bit. So a lot of lefties were going crazy saying that, oh my gosh, Jason Aldean edited his video to not include a few different things like some of these parts of news clippings and BLM protests, and he edited it. What's going on? Oh my gosh, he's trying to back away from his racism. That's what they're trying to claim. However, according to TMZ, Jason Aldean BLM vid removed from his small town music video after a polite ultimatum. So we all know why Jason Aldean's Try That in Small Town music video was edited, but it's not because of racism. It's because the production company actually skirted the rules and used Fox footage without the permission. Sources connected to the music video production tell TMZ back when they were producing the video, the company that produced it reached out to Fox on May 8th and asked for permission to use 6 seconds of video shot by Fox 5 Atlanta showing violence at a BLM rally. We are told the folks at Fox asked for more information, specifically the lyrics, and then the production company sent Fox a link to the song, which was released May 19th, but the protocol was to send the lyrics in writing, which they never did. The music video was obviously released within the last 2 weeks, and the footage was in the vid projecting the courthouse behind Jason was obviously slammed as racist. And then their sources about a week ago at TMZ said that Fox reached out to the production company and asked them to remove the video to avoid any legal action, which was described as a, quote, polite ultimatum. So no, it wasn't because he's trying to back away from these allegations or anything. It's because he simply kind of his production company violated some copyright stuff. So that's pretty much what happened. So lefties calmed down. However, the libs are still getting triggered. Yes, they are. And they're taking to TikTok, the popular app, to try to slam Jason even more. And so I got a video, a few different TikToks I'd like to react to. So let's take a look. And here's one from this dude who is obviously just very, very unhappy with Jason, keeps calling him a racist. And let's try to debunk a little bit about what he has to say. So let's watch here.
I'll be the first to say it. Country music is trash and has always been.
Okay, well, he already is just being an idiot. He's just saying country music is trash, meaning that he wouldn't like this song even if it wasn't controversial, because he believes country music has always been trash. So you're starting off on a premise that makes me not believe anything you're about to say, but don't worry, there's more.
Trash, and Jason Aldean just proved that. If you haven't heard his new song or haven't heard the controversy, don't listen to it. I'm just here to tell you about it and bash the living shit out of it. Title of the song is Try That in a Small Town. Oh, really? Let's look at these lyrics real quick, shall we? Cuss out a cop, spit on his face, stop on the flag and light it up. Yeah, you think you're tough. Well, try that in a small town. See how far you make it down the road. I will try that shit in any town.
Do it, because you'll get arrested. Because here's the thing. If you spit in a cop's face, that is legally battery, assault and battery. So try it. You'll get, at a minimum, I mean, even if the things that Jason describes in the song don't happen, you'll get arrested, because that's assault and battery of a police officer. But okay, try that. See what happens.
And good old boys, racists like Jason Aldean ain't
racist doesn't, and we'll keep watching so we can prove my claim here, right? Claims Jason is a racist doesn't give any reason as to why Jason is apparently a racist.
But you ain't gonna do nothing. This song is literally about Sundown Town. It is the purest form of racism. And trust me, Jason Aldean ain't the only one that's thinking like this. He's just putting it on paper and letting you know that this is who I am. Most of these good old boys are just like that. Jason Aldean's fucking ashamed of himself. What do y'all think of this? Comment below, let me know, and subscribe to the YouTube channel.
I'm not going to subscribe to his YouTube channel, but I do want to break down a little bit what he said. So he claimed sundown towns were the purest form of racism. Okay, what is a sundown town? I gotta be honest, I had to look it up. Sundown towns, also known as sunset towns, gray towns, or sundowner towns, are all white municipalities or neighborhoods in the United States that practice a form of racial segregation by excluding non-whites via some combination of discriminatory local laws, intimidation, or violence. Okay, well, that's like super illegal. If you have a law that is discriminatory on the basis of race, it violates any one of our 13th, 14th, or 15th civil rights amendments. But okay, but sundown towns aren't like real, at least according to the definition here. Correct me if I'm wrong on that definition, because it says excluding non-whites via some combination of discriminatory local laws, intimidation, or violence. Okay, well, intimidation or violence is also illegal. So if it were to happen, and that's not just on the basis of race. If it's on the basis of race, it becomes a hate crime and everything. But intimidation and violence in and of itself is illegal. And so here's the thing: is what Jason Aldean. I think here's let's take it even broader right here. This is a song. It's a piece of art. It's a piece of art that this person obviously disagrees with. It has no mention of race in it. And I'm going to get to what it actually is about. But this guy starts off his video saying, I hate country music, but let me review this country song. I'm sorry, but if you start off saying country music is trash and it's always been trash, I'm not going to really trust your opinion on country music. So sure, try to frame it as, oh my God, it's a sundown town. It's so bad. Jason Aldean's a hardened racist. But you read the lyrics in the video. Not one mention of race. Not one mention of saying I'm going to go after a person of a certain race or I'm going to discriminate on a certain basis of race. No, simply says, if you mess with people in my town, if you mess with our law enforcement, the people I love, the people I care about, see what happens. F around and find out. But okay, that's the first one. That one I just think was a funny guy that obviously was super unreasonably triggered about a song that he wouldn't have listened to anyways because he doesn't like country music. But here's one that I find really interesting. Here's the next one from a guy named Danny Collins. This one's kind of actually making this video that he made is actually making some headlines because he did some digging and seems to have found the smoking gun. He found the smoking gun, everybody. Jason Aldean is an ardent racist, according to this former minor league baseball player, Danny, because of the smoking gun that he found in a promo video for the song. Let's take a look.
Now, we just listened to that little clip of this song, and it's on Jason Aldean's TikTok page with this newspaper article right here. And you see this right here.
So watch this. Watch how far he goes to try to prove that Jason is an ardent racist. Watch how far he goes.
Here, and I'm going to zoom in for you in a second. We zoom in right here. You see it says NAACP, the Republican Party. Down in the bottom right, it says time, the weekly. It looks like the date says May 21st. And after we do a little digging, we find the article. It's the Peddle paper in Peddle, Mississippi. And here we have the NAACP, the Republican Party, like we saw. Right here, you have the date, the weekly, the May 21st time. Now, what could it possibly say? It looks like it's a letter to the editor, Mr. P.D. East. Dear Mr. East, as a public relations consultant to the NAACP, I get to see many newspapers from across the country, but never have I seen anything that startled me as much as the March 15th issue of the Peddle paper with its incredible ridiculing of the White Citizens Council crowd. And if you read Mr. East's response, he goes on to tell Mr. Gross that he was called an in-lover, that he'd lost over 200 subscriptions, and that he was pretty much bothered and harassed in his small town. Well, who exactly was P.D. East, may we ask? He was an American journalist who founded and edited the Peddle, Mississippi's weekly newspaper, the Peddle paper. He's known for his use of satire to criticize white supremacy in Jim Crow-era Mississippi. And according to this article, he was ostracized from the community, he was spat on, he was threatened with violence, his newspaper lost all its subscriptions. And why would this happen to Mr. P.D. East? Because he tried that in a small town. He challenged the Southern racist establishment. But let Jason Aldean tell it, and everybody that's supporting this song has nothing to do with race.
Okay, so there's a few things with this. Okay, so he even does the own research and goes into the Peddle paper. I did some research on the Peddle paper, the one that's mentioned here. But first off, okay, so it's already been established from the very beginning of this video that Jason, his production company, the one that created the video, had to take down videos of the BLM stuff because they didn't follow protocol on sending in the lyrics and copyright and everything like that. So they already had mismanagement of production there. Look, I love this song, but I'm going to kind of criticize the production team a little bit here. Not because they're ardent racists or anything like that, because they just obviously were a little lazy. And that's what it seems like happened with this newspaper thing. I don't believe that they found this specific newspaper clipping that had to do with white supremacy and people and some racist people back in the 1950s of Mississippi. I don't think that they sought out this specific article in this specific newspaper. I'm willing to bet they probably did a Google search of old small town newspaper. And then they edited it up and made it look cool for this promo video. But lefties have to nitpick every little thing. to try to find the racism because they're searching for the racism. A lot of people call this a dog whistle. They claim that there's racist dog whistles. Okay, well, here's the thing. You want to know what a dog whistle does? What a dog whistle does is it plays a noise that only dogs can hear to call them. So if you're claiming that there's racist dog whistles and you're hearing racism, and they're dog whistles that are only for racists and you're the only one hearing them, who's the racist? Jason Aldean or the person hearing the racist dog whistle? Just saying. But let's assume that this Danny guy's got a point. This Danny's got a point that the production team, they chose, or Jason Aldean himself chose this newspaper article to be in this promo video. Well, I looked into the pedal paper and he even discounts his own argument in this video. Danny, he says, or in the pedal paper is a satirical newspaper that was created by Percy Dale East to criticize white supremacy. And it's included in this song. He was going against, yes, back in the 50s, people all across the country were actually ardent racists. And you want to know who they were? You want to hear? Everybody guess. Who were the ardent racists back in the mid 1900s? Was it Republicans? Oh, no. Well, I'm sure that there were some. But the party of the KKK, the party of white supremacy, the party of Margaret Sanger, the person who wanted to delete black people through means of Planned Parenthood, founder of Planned Parenthood, Democrats. Oh my God. Everybody. Who knew? It's Democrats. Democrats were the ardent racists. Democrats. And so Percy Dale East, the person whose newspaper is included in this video, fought against the racist Democrat establishment. And yeah, he's going to publish a letter to the editor because to him it was funny. It was, oh my God, look at this idiot who's a white supremacist getting mad about my satirical newspaper. It's like when somebody posts a Babylon Bee article and gets mad about it. You repost that because it's funny, because it's satire. It's making fun of the people, and they don't even know it, of the white supremacists. He was making fun of them. And so this guy's like, oh my God, Jason Aldean's a racist because he put this newspaper article, the satire newspaper, making fun of racists. Okay. Nope. Danny, you don't even understand. So going back to the original question, because people like this have made it about the courthouse behind Jason in the video. People have made it about this newspaper clipping in this brief blurred out newspaper clipping in a promo video. All this different stuff claiming in the BLM videos, claiming it's all racist. Is it racist or patriotic? That's the question. Well, I'm going to tell you 100% this song is patriotic. Take out the courthouse in the background, the promo video in newspaper clipping, the BLM protest videos, take it all out of the equation. Everything the left has nitpicked and come after, take it all out of the equation. Pretend it's not there. All of the stuff that, and to be fair, all of this stuff, the newspaper clipping, the BLM videos, all of it, some of it I see as good. I mean, if you're exposing criminal behavior and you're making a song that says don't commit crime, like I see that as good. Or at a minimum, it's inconsequential, like the newspaper clippings. Inconsequential. What do you have? If you take all that out, what do you have? You have a song that's about community. And that's something that's lost among my generation a lot. And in our urban areas, especially. A song that values working together, taking care of one another, and treating others as they want to be treated. He says, don't come to my small town and mess with the people that I love, or else I am going to protect the people that I love. Do you really see that in my generation anymore? In my generation, just in urban areas, not even just my generation, in our urban areas. Could you go and ask your neighbor for a cup of sugar without being questioned about it? No. And not once did Jason insinuate going after somebody simply for existing. People try to call it a lynching video. No, never once did he go after somebody for existing. No, what he says is if you threaten those that I love, I will not hesitate to protect them. But the left doesn't like that kind of message. They believe in I'll do whatever I want all the time, and I want and expect you to follow along with it and cater to what I want. That's what they ask for. They have a divisive way of thought. They ignore the golden rule, the biblical rule of treat others how you want to be treated. They don't like that. They don't like that kind of ideology because they want to sow division. They hear the racist dog whistles. Conservatives didn't. Conservatives heard what this song is really about. Community. Jason's song is about what America is supposed to be. Community. About caring for one another. Again, treat others the way you want to be treated. People bash this song for its domestic implications of crime in urban areas. Well, let's think back a little bit. A lot of country music is actually about defending yourself and defending against a certain threat. In Jason's case, it's domestic crime that's happening in your city, in your small town, whatever. But let's think back about to the early 2000s. There's a song, it's called Courtesy of the Red, White, and Blue. It's by Toby Keith. And this song really isn't that much different from Try That in a Small Town. In a post 9/11 America, Toby Keith wrote these lyrics, and I'm quoting it here. Now, this nation that I love has fallen under attack. A mighty sucker punch came flying in from somewhere in the back. Soon as we could see clearly through our big black eye, man, we lit up your world like the 4th of July. So what does this mean? What do those lyrics mean? Man, we lit up your world like the 4th of July after getting a black eye. What does that mean? It means defend our homeland against those who threaten it. And that's the same thing as Try That in a Small Town. Why is Jason's song so much more controversial? Well, it's because the large threat that we're facing, when Toby Keith was writing that song, America was unified against the large threat of foreign terrorism. The large threat America is facing today, at least in accordance with Jason's song, is more of a domestic terrorism. Our threat is domestic, he says. As Jason points out, lawlessness from domestic terrorists, like the Antifa riots that we had, that also included BLM back in 2020, that lawlessness of people that throw violent hissy fits when things don't go their way, that's the domestic threat. And then it's even perpetuated by the mainstream media that calls those protests mostly peaceful. Riots, mostly peaceful. Because they are complicit in the destruction. So is Jason Aldean's song racist or patriotic? It is absolutely patriotic. Compare it with what is known as a patriotic classic, Courtesy of the Red, White, and Blue, and they are practically, in terms of message, the same song. It is Jason Aldean's Try That in a Small Town is 100% patriotic. It is the modern day Courtesy of the Red, White, and Blue, and every red-blooded, God-fearing, patriotic American should have it on their playlist, no matter what their race is, because the song is not racist, because it calls out crime and advocates for community, which is not a racial divide. People of all races commit and condemn crime, and people of all races should, I mean, I don't know why they wouldn't, love community and love building community. Jason Aldean's song is 100% patriotic. Thank you, everybody. That's all I got for today, but thank you so much for tuning in. Don't forget to like and subscribe to this video. Subscribe to my channel. That's what I meant. Everybody like this video, subscribe to my channel, and leave me a comment. What do you think? Racist, patriotic when it comes to Jason Aldean's song. Thank you so much for tuning in, everybody. I got to get out of here, but don't forget to, again, subscribe and ring that notification bell. Put it to all so you don't miss a single day of Speechless, The Daily Show.